My pleasure to introduce our speaker, Senator Timothy Kennedy. Senator Kennedy received his master's degree in occupational therapy from Deweyville College, and for 11 years, he worked as an occupational therapist with geriatric and pediatric populations. Early on in his OT career, he became inspired to get involved in government, and his passion for helping others has guided his approach both in therapy and in politics. Senator Kennedy gained a reputation for taking a hands-on approach to finding solutions for the community. As a people-focused politician, he has fought tirelessly to protect vulnerable and underrepresented populations, such as older adults, children, and the poor. He has been described as a veritable cyclone of energy and ideas, and he's an inspiring advocate for our profession. We're honored to have him here today. Please help me welcome New York State Senator Timothy Kennedy.
Good morning. Hey, you're graduating today. Good morning. That's more like it. All right. Thank you very much for having me here. Let me first of all begin by thanking the Columbia University leadership for inviting me to take part in this historic occasion, specifically Dr. Janet Falk-Kessler, a leader within the university, the state, and the nation. As Director of Programs in Occupational Therapy here at Columbia, as well as a fellow within the American Occupational Therapy Association, which, as an organization, has provided me with support and inspiration both as an occupational therapist and as a New York State Senator. As a Columbia University outsider and an objective observer within the occupational therapy profession, it's a well-known fact that starting with Dr. Joel Stein and, as mentioned, across the gamut, the faculty members and instructors at Columbia are second to none. I must say how lucky and blessed you are to have this group of illustrious leaders pushing this prestigious institution to even greater heights. But you already knew that. Graduates who are here today to celebrate a moment in your lives that will be ingrained in your hearts and your minds forever. I'm truly humbled and honored to speak with you today on such a momentous occasion in your lives. This day is a momentous occasion in my life as well, as I get to address this group of young, bright, ambitious graduates that I'm sure will prove as leaders within the occupational therapy profession in the state and the nation. I appreciate the invitation and know, as a good politician would, that no matter what I say, the shorter my speech is, the better it will be received. So how does a state senator from Buffalo end up giving a commencement speech in the heart of New York City? Well, it was a long road to get here, and I'm not talking about the road, the New York State Thruway from Buffalo. In reality, it's a somewhat unlikely career path that got me here, starting back in Buffalo in 1994. I was graduating from high school, trying to figure out the direction of my life. What should I become? And what should I be are questions I often ask myself. The limitless options I had in front of me left a resounding echo in my mind. I really had no inclination as to what I wanted to do with my life at that time, with one exception. I knew no matter what college I chose, no matter where I decided to invest my tuition dollars and years of my life, there was one prerequisite. It had to be a party school. And I was going to get as far away from my parents to follow my partying dreams. And after being accepted to 4 different schools and programs varying from English to business to accounting to hotel management, I had my sights set on the promised land of partying. Then the news came. Deweyville College, a small school in the city of Buffalo, had accepted me into the occupational therapy program. This was wonderful news for my mother. It was at her urging that I send an application into the college where she had attended nursing school in the 1960s. It was then at her insistence that I followed through with the invitation to join their OT program because, as she declared, when you finish school, you'll be sure to get a job. To be totally honest, as a graduating high school senior, I wasn't exactly sure what an occupational therapist was. I had never needed OT treatment, so I didn't know much about it. When I would ask my mother what an OT was, she'd say, "You'll work with people, and you're good with people, so it's a perfect fit." When I'd further push her and dared to resist, she'll say, "You'll find out what OT is soon enough." Well, my mother turned out to be right. I followed her direction, and despite the fact that my partying plans were deflated, I'm certainly glad I listened to her. The decision to study occupational therapy in Buffalo was truly life-changing. It was studying to be an occupational therapist that I met some of my best friends, lifelong friends. Staying in Buffalo also helped ignite my interest in government and politics. Driving through the city every day from home to school and back, I would see the challenges and opportunity that the city possessed, inspiring me to find ways to help the community overcome those challenges and capitalize on those opportunities. It was also shortly after graduating and while practicing as an occupational therapist that I met my wife, a physical therapist. We were working together in a facility for children with developmental disabilities. I owe so many of my life's successes to the field of occupational therapy and the path it put me on, the doors it opened, and the direction it's taken my life. As you move forward in your lives as OTs, you'll someday reflect on this day and the years you spent here at Columbia University. You'll recognize, as I'm sure many of you already have, how transformational the field of occupational therapy has been in your own life. You've spent years of your life to get to this point of graduation with the goal of moving on into the professional world, but once you get out there, you'll look back fondly and ironically, often look back and wish you were here. However, no matter how transformational occupational therapy has been in your life, it doesn't even scratch the surface of how it will benefit the lives of those that you will work with. You are occupational therapists. You are healers, educators, advocates, preventative specialists, researchers. In some cases, you will be the mother or father figure to a child. In other cases, you will be the only person a needy individual sees throughout their entire day. And in many cases, you will be seen as miracle workers. While our jobs as occupational therapists are often misunderstood, our mission is simple and honorable. Give hope to the troubled, courage to those in doubt, comfort to those at their weakest and most vulnerable points in their lives. About 10 years ago, a man named Edmund was brought into the clinic where I was working after suffering a debilitating stroke. He was pushed into the clinic in a jerry chair. Edmund could not walk or stand or communicate. He was facing a very challenging situation following the stroke, but we were determined to help him along his path to recovery. His limited mobility went so far as making him unable to even sit upright. While he was not even able to speak for himself, the staff and I worked diligently to give him the most comfortable positioning and surroundings. Upon review of his chart, we realized that Edmund was a World War II combat veteran, a proud member of the nation's greatest generation. As he had served our country, it was now our turn to serve him. For weeks we struggled through therapy sessions, making very little progress. It motivated us to work harder, to try different techniques. We dedicated day after day, week after week, to help him recover, but still the progress was slow and relatively negligible. Hope seemed to be fading. As we contemplated the next steps to take and discuss possible remedies to what seemed like roadblocks to recovery, we stayed the course and kept working hard to spark an improvement in his status. Then it happened. A slight alteration in his meds led to sudden and unexpected progress. Edmund was soon sitting upright and talking with staff and fellow residents. Could this be the break we were waiting for? Turned out it was. Edmund's progress skyrocketed. An increased OT, PT, and speech regimen was put in place and followed aggressively. Over the months of rehab that ensued, he built relationships within every department in the facility, often telling war stories from the Pacific front lines as he was an artilleryman at the Battle of Guadalcanal. Eventually, Edmund began growing more and more independent in every area of his life. After his remarkable recovery, he was discharged from therapy. Edmund went on to care for his family, staying by his wife's side as she suffered from Alzheimer's dementia. They lived out the rest of their lives together and independently. That is just one story that stands out in my mind amid hundreds that I could tell. A story of recovery against all odds. A story about never giving up even as hope fades. A story about people doing everything they can to help another person live a full, healthy, and happy life. I've seen firsthand what you will soon accomplish. I've seen men and women of every generation come into clinics unable to move, speak, communicate, or even stand, and after months of hard work be released home to live independently and with dignity. I've seen individuals on the brink of death after an accident fully recover and live lives as if nothing ever happened. I've seen children who could not talk and would not listen, children struggling in their early development. I've seen many of them blossom into children at the top of their classes and developmentally on par with their peers. Society will now depend on you as new members of the occupational therapy profession to create stories such as these. While this may seem like a monumental task, the basis to which our profession is formed eases this burden. Occupational therapy at its core is about one goal: helping others. While my love for helping others resulted in a strong fit as an occupational therapist, it further pushed me to succeed in government as well. I often tell my Senate staff that we are in the business of helping people. The first time I had to leave my home from Buffalo to go to the capital of Albany, my 5-year-old son Connor was upset. He's now beginning to understand that his dad is a state senator and what it means to be involved in government, but he's still learning. Connor asked me why I had to go down to Albany. What do I do at work, he asked. Initially, I wasn't sure how to respond in a way that he'd understand, so I said very simply, I help people. Typical 5-year-old, he responded with another question. How many people? Thousands, I told him. I explained to him, much to his amazement, after his next question, are there more than 1,000 people in the world? Well, there are more than 1,000 people in the world, as we all know. But not only are there far more than 1,000 people in the world, there will likely be far more than 1,000 people whose lives you change throughout your career, perhaps as occupational therapists, even in your first year. When you help someone recover to full health, it's not just that life that you're affecting. You're changing the lives of that individual's family and friends who will get to continue to enjoy the healthy relationship they always have. Once you're out there practicing, you'll be making a difference in our world, one patient, one family at a time. Helping people succeed in their recovery will fuel your passion. It will push you to work harder, to do everything you can to help every individual, every family that ever walks into your clinic or into your life. That passion for helping others has always been the force driving my career forward, both as an OT and now as a New York State Senator. When I secured my seat in the Senate, my ability to help the hardworking men and women of New York State was amplified. However, throughout my career, my goals have always been, and I'm sure your goals will be, to put people first, help families succeed, and help our communities, your community, thrive. I don't want to dive too deeply into the different world that is the New York State Capitol, but if you haven't seen lately, our state government's a bit dysfunctional. It's struggling to shed its crippling culture of corruption and regain its full recovery to serve the people of New York State. Honestly, I think New York State could use a good dose of occupational therapy. While the rehabilitation of our government may be long and arduous, as a good OT, I will see it through to recovery. But I need your help. I suggest to you all as well to get involved in your government, your community, and your profession. I truly believe that because of our genetic makeup, our willingness to dig deep, and our enthusiasm for putting other people before ourselves, occupational therapists have the greatest opportunity to succeed in government and politics. As I stand before you today, I realize that as occupational therapists, no matter what unlikely path life takes us down, our mission is to always be focused on making a difference in others' lives and in our communities. The moral of the story here is twofold. Number one, as I did when I made the life-enriching decision to study occupational therapy, listen to your mothers. Secondly, life is full of twists, turns, ups, and downs. If you put your best foot forward, stay true to yourself, treat others the way you wish to be treated, and do things for the right reasons, no matter what direction your life takes, you can be proud of where it has taken you. You will never have to look back, and you can always rest easy knowing that this is what was meant to be. Good luck, graduates. You've studied occupational therapy to help others, and now it's time to put what you've learned to practice. May your life's path lead you to the direction of making a difference. Today, you're graduating from Columbia University with your degree in occupational therapy. Columbia is one of the great occupational therapy schools, and it is often used as a model for other OT schools across the nation. You should be very proud of what you've accomplished, and even more excited about what you will accomplish in the years ahead. Thank you very much for this honor to speak with you today. Good luck in your endeavors, and congratulations.